All right, welcome to chord identification. We are only going to be doing major chords today that fit inside all of our major key signatures. Your staff has 5 lines and 4 spaces, which we talked about in previous slideshows, so that shouldn't be new for you. We've also talked about how the notes go from space to line to space to line. So if we're walking up a scale, our first scale degree is there, second one's on the line, third one's space, fourth line, fifth space, sixth line, seventh space. Now we can also show those in solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, they all walk up the lines and spaces as we've learned previously. In solfege then, if we're going to go below do, we step down and we go to ti. So we create a line there, we go down to ti. Similarly, up here, we go to ti and we start over at do. So we know that our solfege syllables repeat after we get to the ends of our scales. They just keep going forever and ever, repeating that same pattern. In chords, we're going to use kind of the same concept. So if we were down below our 1 chord, 1 beneath it would actually be a 7. And we'll get back to explaining that in a little bit. Same thing if you're at the top and you go above a 7, we could call that an 8 chord. But if you think about it, it's do. So do up here is the same as do down here. So we're just going to call it a 1 chord. Okay? So every 6 chord in every octave is just going to be a 6, no matter if it's high or low. And every 7 in each of the octaves is going to be a 7. So it doesn't matter where it is on the staff. If it fits that solfege syllable, that's what it's going to be. So, like many other processes that we do in music, the key signature matters. We always have to know where do is at. So you want to make sure you pay attention to your key signature before you start figuring out your chords. Okay, so if we're given this is your key signature and your chord, how are we going to figure this out? Well, first we have to know where do is. Okay, so we know sharp T, we find our do's, and do is always going to be our 1. That's what we just said on the previous slides. Walking up the scale, do is your first scale degree, 1. Okay, so your bottom note, whatever your bottom note of the triad is, triad means 3 notes, the bottom note is going to tell you what to label it number-wise. So this bottom note is right on do, so it's going to be a 1 chord. In naming chords, though, we don't write them with regular numbers. We write them with Roman numerals. So a lot of times in history, you'll see Roman numerals. They look like that. The 1, 4, and 5 are capitalized because they're a major quality. Don't need to know a lot about that right now, but those ones are capitalized in major, 1, 4, and 5. The 7 has this little circle by it because it is a diminished quality. So 7 has a little circle. On your quiz, it might have in parentheses, like dim or something like that, just because of the font won't let me do that. But usually, you see a little circle there, which means the 7 is diminished. So if we knew this is a 1 chord because it started on do, we would label it with a 1. We're going to practice that process several more times, and that's all there is to it. Find T, your farthest sharp over. We find our do. Okay, we know do is 1. Next space 2, line 3, 4. That starts on the 4, so it's a 4 chord. Sharp T, find our do's. Do is 1. Space 2, line 3, space 4, 5, 6. That bottom note is on 6, so it is a 6 chord. New key signature, we notice. So you can find your farthest flat over is fa, flat fa. You can walk down fa, mi, re, do, or fa, so, la, ti, line at the top, do, or you can just know your second to last flat, whichever way you want to do it. Do is still 1, line 2, that bottom note's on 3, so that's a 3 chord. Same key signature, we know where our do's are at. Do is 1, we step down to 7, remember because when we start over, just like we sing so, fa, mi, re, do, ti, we go back to ti, go back to 7. So 7 chord is beneath the 1 chord. That would be a 7. That's really all there is to it. It's pretty simple. If you just remember the bottom note is what matters in naming it with your number quality. Always find do and then name your bottom note with a number. Now we're going to show you what you're doing on Classroom. Pretty straightforward. You'll go to your Google Classroom, click on Classwork, scroll down to your chord identification, open that up. There's a form. Click Next. Then you'll see chords. You always have to pay attention to your key signature. Look at the number 1 chord, fill out the number 1 with the appropriate chord below, number 2, the appropriate 2 chord, and so on. There are sections after this one that say first inversion and second inversion, so you need to watch the next video to figure out how to do those. That's it. Thank you.